Good evening, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day! Welcome to the Spirit Room. My name is Holly DeFrancisco. I'm the gallery manager here. And thank you, everyone, for coming to celebrate our wonderful Works of Whimsy exhibit. And thank you to all the artists for, entering. It's totally you guys that made this show. So, this is an award-based show, and thankfully, our board member, Carrie Anderson, I thought good. She actually stepped in. Mikkel Joy didn't show up this evening for us, so she's actually the one that chose our awards this evening. So our first place goes to Larry Simpson for his Flyboy. Larry! Larry! Woo! Woo! Come on now. Would you like to come say something about your piece?
It's in there.
Okay, speak for itself.
Well, we can have a little gifts for you.
I want to say something.
Come on. Thank you, Don.
Larry's a photographer, and he is the one that calls me always about a year ahead of time to ask when our next group show is coming up. And it's sometimes the pro show, and sometimes it has some other theme.
Yeah.
But he's been consistently a photographer for as long as I've known him. In fact, I think when I was, before, because I think when I was about 24 years old, he took a photograph of me.
In front of West Acres.
That's right, yeah. So that's a long time.
Just look a little different then, not much.
Yeah, and you too.
Does anybody know what a stereo slide is? Stereo optic slide? It was one of the first forms of home entertainment for families back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. There was no radio. They would get out these things that were pictures from all over the world usually, and be entertained. And so it's based on that. There was one of the companies was Keystone, and I just changed it to the Simpson View Company and made it. It's not really a stereo image. A stereo camera has two lenses, just like your eye works. So they're not exactly identical, but when you use the viewer to look at them, they appear 3D. You get depth in the picture. Mine.
I'm sure you would have seen them. They're like these little viewers. You mastered put a slide.
No, that came in the 50s, but it's a 3D image like that.
Yes.
There are two images. Any other questions?
So I'm still trying to figure out which image over there is that.
Well, it's in the small room.
Yeah, I know.
There are two images that look alike.
It's a boy on a chick.
The boy and the chick, okay.
That's what I was wondering.
Oh.
Thank you.
And these are crosshairs, and they're angry with each other. So I did a play on words. I like puns. And everybody asked about the unicycle riders. And that's just keeping everything in the balance. It's just kind of a trigger to another thing that's happening behind the main image. So that adds the whimsy to it. It's acrylic and chalk.
Oh, I didn't realize the chalk. It's so cute. Thank you. Thank you very much. And finally, we have Nettie Berger with her Hotel Donaldson.
That's
Awesome.
It is so fantastic. Is she here? I haven't
She's
seen her.
not well today.
Oh no. Well, sad day. We'll have to get a shot of it at least. This hotel is fantastic. If anyone hasn't, truly remarkable. This little house has just tons of different little rooms. and nooks. And she's got it, some of the rooms lit up, and the ones that don't, she kind of included this little pen light so you can. She hollows the whole thing out, and then so the whole thing, she counts open the top, and she said she hollows out the inside, and then the piece gets attached back on. So it's like there's actually a seam, but I can't find it.
Did she tell you how long it took?
She didn't. I wish she had. I wish I had thought to even ask. She said for the most part, though, when she does pieces like this, she doesn't really pay attention to how much time it's taking her. She just makes them till they're done, and then when they're done, she says that she just moves on like it's no big deal. Just, oh, whatever, we're just going on to the next thing now. But yeah, she included everything for us. I mean, she even brought in this little turn. Well, since she's not here, is there any other artists that might want to talk about their work they had in the show this evening?
I suppose I would be able to.
Come over here, Chad.
I'll be right there.
Yeah, this has been a really great show. I really appreciate all of you. I really didn't know what to expect putting out that theme, but it's been great.
We'll get my piece really quick.
Oh, okay.
I do apologize.
Yeah. I put this piece in here, so it's super cool. Yeah.
This will be this guy right here, and I call this the three hearts for Horizon. And it is basically it's a piece of mixed media, and say basically the background here with the red background is made out of, well, I put the red acrylic paints, and then to hold those mulch pieces, I just got some caulking. And as I put the caulking down, I decided to basically take, say, the cylinder or the circular pieces here. I use some, I'll say, oh, excuse me. I hate it when such simple words just elude my mind like this. Oh. But anyways, I use coasters for the circular effect, for these circles here, and then just some more circle plates at the base, and basically it all comes together very well with the caulking, and before I use that caulking as the adhesive, and it comes together very well, very well.
Very natural. I like the colors that you chose. That red is very natural. It's like a red ochre.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, it all ties very well.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's also a very sturdy piece. Being the one that hung it, I can tell you, like, you pick it up and it just, nothing's moving.
Oh, yes. It is very solid. That caulking does hold it in place very well as the adhesive. And on the mulch work, what I used for the coloring, with the green coloring there, and for around the sides, I used the charcoal, and with the green, I used some pastel effects. Put pastel work into the woodwork. And so it has come together quite well. It's a 16 by 16, of course, and I guess I really don't have too much else to say about it.
I think with your red and your green, I like how you did that because, I don't see green, I see brown. But when you have red and green, I think you've got a nice balance, so it really does. Really good color choice. Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yes. Thank you all.
And then the girl with the pinwheels, that's all I got. No, I have to leave like in like a minute. I have to go to the phone. How about Elizabeth Fountain?
Want me to say something?
Yeah, this is Elizabeth Schwanko. Her piece is over here. Maybe love your house.
They're called the Secure and Insecure. And when I took the reference photo for this was done initially for the Arts Partnerships display at the airport for the cow show. And so I needed a reference photo, so I stopped out by my son's place on Rose Lake, and we were driving down the road, and I said, stop, stop, stop. My husband stopped. And I jumped out, and there were a bunch of cows there. So I pulled out my phone actually, to take my reference photo. And they lined up just like that. And it was so cute how they hid behind each other. And I have the sequence of the photos, and initially they're all separate, and then one by one they came together and lined up. And so, but the two behind to me are the secure, and the one out front, or the two behind are the insecure, and the one out front is the secure. But you could look at it the other way too. So, and then I just wanted to paint it real fun and lots of color. This is what I had in my mind from the start of painting this, just to make it real bold and splashy. And so that's my cow piece.
It's so cute. Thank you. Thank you.
How about Barbara?
Well, I have two pieces that are mixed media collage. The one is called Singing the Hits, or let's see, what is it called?
Singing to the oldies?
Swimming to the Oldies. So for collage, you can use anything. I have lots of books of poetry and sheet music that I collect, and I just started with the sheet music, and I had all these different sheet music, and I thought this might be the music that sharks like. Row, 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 boat. And there's one called The Little Mermaid, but a lot of them are, just song titles that are embedded into the piece. And so I just started letting my imagination go, and whenever there's a theme show like this, I love it. And I just want to thank, was it Holly that came up with it?
Yes!
But having a theme for a group show that everybody can relate to, I think is really helpful to artists. I'm just speaking for myself, but it's not something so ethereal that we can't relate to it. So anyway, I love the title, and I thought of the whimsy of what sharks and fish might like to listen to. And the other one is more serious. When I was...
Is that this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Finding Her Starfish, and actually there's whimsy to it, but a sad story as well. And sometimes I think whimsy is like the comic relief when we've had tragedy. I lost my dad when I was 10. It wasn't a big hardship for me because I was so attached to my mother. But he died, and I saw my mother's sadness. But a year later, we went out to Vancouver Island with relatives, and I saw my mom the happiest that she had been in over a year. She found a living starfish on the beach. And I think that was the first time I saw her smile, like in a year. And she, back in those days, we didn't have grief counselors, things like that. Someone died, you just deal with it. And my mom just sheltered us so much from her pain, her grief of being left alone. My dad was only 53. So this piece is about her, and finding her starfish means that she became happy again. And so it's an encouraging piece for everybody who's had hardship, that there's always a light someplace, that there's hope. And when whimsy is brought back into your light, you can laugh again. And that's what I love about this whole show. And I congratulate all the artists on just different renditions of this theme. Mary Jo Haley, I'm passing it on to you because her names in the other room are absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to have her come up and talk. So
Interesting.
Whimsy, when I think of whimsy, I think of chance. And there's an art period called Dadaism, and you just kind of, it's all by chance. And I also read eggs, so and it's by chance too. If you pick out your favorite egg, each egg tells a story. So, and you might like the same egg, but the story is different. It just depends on the moment. And it's all by chance, it's a storytelling. And I just use the eggs to tell stories. But they're traditional designs, Ukrainian eggs. They were called fasanki. It's wax and dye, and then you take off all the wax. And that's when the beautiful pattern comes out. So it too is like a surprise to me, and that's why I like doing it. My mother talked me into it when I was a teenager, and my first expression was, who would want to paint on an egg? So when you mentioned your mother, I too have to kind of honor my mother. She was the one who roped me into it. So I really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
They're chicken eggs, real chicken eggs. And then if you notice, the duck eggs are a little bigger, but not much. But the difference is between like cotton and silk. The duck eggs are just so fine. It's like a silk. When you're holding them, it's like, wow, I've got this silk duck egg in my hand. And then the larger ones are goose eggs. So if you have a favorite egg, just tug on me and I'll be over there and read the story.
That sounds great.
Okay, glad you're here.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
I have my chameleon painting. I had a pet chameleon, which was very interesting. It started when it was just a little baby, and never had a reptile. Actually, shied away from reptiles, but decided to give it a shot. And I found her very interesting. I liked how she blended into her environment. Sometimes you couldn't even see her or find her, and then all of a sudden you would. And the interesting thing about them is that their eyes constantly are changing directions. They can look two different ways. Their eyes rotate kind of like an owl's head does, and they're very curious to watch. And so I debated naming this Always Watching as well, because I always felt like she was watching, even if I couldn't see her, she was watching me. So, and I like to oil paint. I was a student at MSUM for painting, and I did a lot of oil painting. I like to paint in colors and layers. And so with these, it gave me the opportunity to be whimsical with colors and to just really make layers. The horses was a photo that I took out in Dora of wild horses. And it was interesting to see their interaction, and then I painted off of the photo. Of course, the horses are brown, but once again, I always like to look at, like when you look at colors in nature, and you see the light, it just like we have these huge sundogs. And really you can see the rainbow in a lot of places.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Anybody else brave enough? Yeah.
Could you introduce yourself? I realized after I was done, I didn't introduce myself, and the others did afterwards.
Oh,
And so,
I'm Adam Bursack, and mine are over here with the other photographic pieces. I wasn't originally sure if I was gonna handle something like this one or not. I was talking to a friend of mine who I've worked on art with before. He said, I'm not sure if whimsical's in your vocabulary, because I tend to do a lot of darker things. But I was working on, there's, like a lot of you probably know, the erotic art show at the Red Raven that's, their opening is, I think, this Saturday. And I started thinking, there's this simultaneous thing with that, working with model Jessica here with me, and I just started noticing, going for that, it was more of a, like, in the shadows kind of thing, going for the central thing, and then I was thinking, people think of, quote unquote, revealing things being like that. But I was, even though these, in a technical sense, are it made me think more of like illustrations from mythology books, or especially the one on the right over there, like a comic book superhero, and there's spandex outfits, you know. And the one on the right is called, after this thing too, to make sure I get the name right, God stares into the vortex. God stares into the void from her motel room, and I was thinking she just had this very like mythological, like if God were to come to Earth in a female human form, it might look kind of like that, and sitting in the room that looked like a kind of sleazy motel room or something. It wasn't actually, but and there's a light reflection. I, of course, did a lot of color treatments on the computer digitally, and the reflection as I was making her hair red and whatever, that just turned that into like this void. And the second one, I actually wasn't going for a staring into the void sort of thing, but I realized afterwards the outdoor one over there, which is called Wilderness Prayer, where she's got her hands in a prayer pose behind her back, which is not easy to do. She could do it, but one of her friends joked, looking at the picture, that they threw their shoulder out trying to do that. And that's actually a painting of mine that she's looking at, but it's looks sort of like,
wow.
Some people say it looks like a waterfall or a
It totally does.
To another dimension or something. But yeah, it's got that nature aspect with the bushes in the background and everything, and then some that could be a waterfall, it could be something more mystical, but we both had kind of that spiritual theme to them, which again was something I just found as I was doing the editing rather than something I planned for. But it was very much kind of a compare and contrast thing with the show at the Red Raven as well. So it's kind of half of what I did, and then the ones over the Red Raven are the other half.
That's fantastic.
And those two other photos by those are Jessica's photos, by the way. She's doing things as well.
Have you seen Scanner Darkly?
I haven't, but I'm familiar with the animation style. And
Yeah.
those
That's what that
did-
reminds me of.
Yeah, they made me think of that because, you know, they started as photographs, and, you know, even to me, they almost don't look like photographs, but they're not painted over in that style, but with the
rotoscoping, yeah.
the digital color treatments, everything has a similar effect to the rotoscope effect.
That's really cool. Nice work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since we're in your neighborhood, Jessica? Well, anybody else? Well, thank you again, everybody. This is a fantastic show, so congratulations to all of you. Yeah!